Okay. Sorry there, everybody. We had an issue with going live on Twitter, but it looks like we're live on YouTube. Hey, so this is from the gridiron to the hardwood. We're talking SEC sports tonight, my guys and girls and ladies and gents. You're watching the Veteran Sports Voice podcast, college sports spoken by those who served. Good evening and welcome again to Veteran Sports Voice podcast. I'm Sean Mercer, former Army and Navy veteran, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host Ian McCants, former Navy veteran, and we've got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. And we're going to get things started off tonight in Tuscaloosa as we break down the developing quarterback battle for the Alabama Crimson Tide and what it could mean for the future of that program. And then we're going to shift to the hardwood. We're going to take a look at everything happening in the SEC tournament, including the possibility, which I'm excited about, big Arkansas-Alabama rematch that could definitely get the attention of basketball fans across the nation. You know what? And I've heard it from across the SEC nation, but across the nation, because that was one hell of a game a few weeks back. And before we wrap things up, you know what? Ian said he wants to talk about an important conversation about health and life beyond sports, because sometimes those conversations matter most, go beyond what happens on the field and on the court. So y'all settle in, jump in to chat with us. Let's talk some college sports. This is Veteran Sports Voice podcast, and we're getting it started right now. Welcome, my guy, Ian. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I missed you, man, and being on the show, and glad to be back here, man, and seeing you and feeling your energy is very infectious, brother. So glad to be back here with you today.
Well, man, I appreciate it. And you know what? You know what? I probably should have said something. I've been out, I know, at least 2 to 3 weeks. In November, my mother passed away, and 2 months and 17 days after that, my father passed away. And that's life. But I got to make it home. I got to tell him I love him. He knew I was there. He said, "Thank you. I love you." And you know what? It was a beautiful moment by just an incredible, inspiring man, godly man that taught me everything from sportsmanship. That sportsmanship don't mean nothing unless you got character to go behind it. And my dad was the ultimate, just character all the way around, and just oozed love and character to everybody around him. And I appreciate every one of y'all picking up slack. Everybody at College Sports Crew have been so good to me and let me do what I needed to do and grieve the way I needed to grieve. And this is going to be a tough show, Ian. I already told you that, just because getting back in that saddle, trying to get that what's that word I'm looking for? That
That mojo.
that mojo. That's it. That mojo, baby. But you know what? We it's gonna be all right, and we're gonna be fine. And I'm glad that I'm coming back on live with you, my man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But yeah, man, thank you for sharing that with us. And you're Mojo certified, man. It never leaves you. Even when you think it's left, it's still there. Trust me.
Well, I tell you, it's been a tough couple of weeks, but uh, you know, when it's that time, and I hope everybody believes I believe they're in a better place. They're with their heavenly Father, and that's where and I take solace in that, knowing that they're where they're supposed to be, man. So
Right,
yeah,
right,
so
right.
so this show right here, Dad, this one's for you. I know you're up there watching, and love you, my man, and hope you enjoy this one, pops. So with that
Absolutely.
being said, Ian, you know what, man, I hit you up, told you I was ready, and you first thing out of your mouth, man, was I want to talk about the quarterback battle at Alabama, man. Keelan Russell and Austin Mack.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
And
tell me, I'm out of the loop a little bit. So fill
right.
me in, fill the viewers in, tell us what's going on, my guy.
Well, the reason why I wanted to talk about it, and actually we've talked about it on this show before, right?
Yes.
But I noticed about a week and a half ago that suddenly, because think about all the negative, headlines that Alabama has been getting, man, across the board. And so, basically written off. I think that I saw a pre top 25 that had them at like number 10. So no real expectations. But about a week and a half ago, man, I started seeing, all of our big podcasters and everybody talking about the quarterback battle. And so I think that they're getting intel, and it's seeming like the position is going to be one of strength this year. Okay. And if it is, That's going to be a game changer. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that DeBoer is going to be faced with a tough decision. Okay, you have Austin Mack, and you know, honestly, I kind of look at Austin Mack the same way that I look at the last quarterback they had. The only advantage that Austin has is he's familiar with the system. Okay, so he was there with them at Washington. He followed them on down to Alabama. So, he's a system guy. He has size. Fairly accurate, but I think his ceiling is very low. Just
Okay.
like Ty Simpson. So now you have the gunslinger, okay, Keelan Russell, and he's got it, man. And this isn't just me being biased. If you go and you look, Keelan Russell highlights from 2025, it's very few. Okay, it's like a minute and a half long video, but man, he has it all. He has the package, man, and he made all the throws. He saw the field. And he's a true dual threat. He gives you that threat of the run and the pass. And so I think that these insiders and analysts are starting to see that and, realize that basically, where Alabama was handicapped the past 4 years was at quarterback. Ty was average. Milrow had his moments, but he had no business being quarterback, man. And so, you know, you got Russell, who's being compared to Tua, who was an excellent, college quarterback. And so it's just interesting to see. I think it's some buzz out there, and not saying that Alabama's back in the good graces of the college football world, but I do think that people are seeing potential with them next year. Starting with the quarterback position.
So, oh, are you there? Did
Yeah,
I
yeah,
lose
I'm
you?
here.
Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay, no, I thought I lost sound for a second.
No.
Something happened over here. So no, so okay, so I went back and I was kind of so I have a question about Ty. I knew you were going to bring Ty Simpson up into this,
Right.
and so with that, how okay, in your opinion, because man, you're everything Alabama when it comes to this. How bad did the offensive line handicap Ty Simpson this last year? And if so, did Alabama improve on the offensive line to help whatever quarterback comes out of this race to make him a better version of this year's quarterback for Alabama?
Yeah, I just place blame on both sides. Yes, the offensive line last year was piss poor, poor coaching. They got rid of a lot of people, but also Ty. Watch how many games where he snapped the ball like under 2 seconds.
Mhm.
He's running back and forth, making these adjustments. Um, the offensive line, I mean, they know, the running game's not effective either, and so I don't think that you can place blame on one side or the other. I think the line affected Ty affected the line. We will see next year. We don't know. It's going to be a lot of new plug and play players, brand new coaching. But I do feel that at least at the quarterback position, the talent is going to be better. I think at a minimum, Mac will equal Ty, which that will result in Alabama probably being 8-4, 9-3. But I think with Russell, the ceiling is higher, and now we stand a chance, winning at Georgia or those type of games. I think you got to have a game changer, and I think that's what Russell can give to the Tide. So I kind of agree with everyone else. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mac run out week 1 as the starter, but if Russell doesn't overtake him by game 3 or 4, we're in trouble.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. You've been critical at time of Coach DeBoer.
Hmm.
Let's get into his thinking right now. Is Coach DeBoer, is he gonna is he gonna go is he gonna take that leap of faith with Russell? Or does he take, knowing how your coach is, like you know him better than I do because you watch Alabama every week.
Hmm.
Or is he gonna go with the safer option first off with Austin Mack?
I think he's going to go with the safer option, man. And honestly, I don't even know if that's coach logic because we saw this with Saban. I think Saban was the greatest coach of all time, but he most definitely left Jalen Hurts in there way too long.
Mhm.
Tua should have overtook him a long time ago. Like his first couple of seasons, he even did it. I remember we had this. He was a popular quarterback, but Alabama brought him in as running back. His name was Jimmy Johns, and people were like, "Put him at quarterback," and Saban did it, and he fumbled, and they took it out. I think we lost to like Sylvester Croom Mississippi State that year, and so yeah, man, I think that it's a lot of pressure from boosters or, some undercurrents that we're not privy to. Okay, but yeah, I do expect DeBoer because he's already shown me that he's hesitant. There was times that Jalen Milroe looked so piss poor, Ty should have been in. There was times that Ty looked so average that Russell or Mac should have got a shot. So that's why I say the safe route, he's going to start Mac, and Mac, the pressure is going to build very quickly to put Russell in there. And like I said, if he doesn't, do it game 3 or 4, I don't know when we play Georgia. It's usually pretty early, but if he doesn't do it after a couple of games, we might be in trouble because that means that he trusts Mac over Russell, and barring an injury, that's what he's going to stick with for the rest of the year.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember Kalen Russell, and I was actually trying to look this up today, but some of the stuff when he was recruited, one of his strengths is pre-snap reads, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
with Russell.
Yep. Yep.
And let's be real. Like, let me think here. Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, they were the strongest because of their pre-wrap. Brady was probably one of the best pre-snap read quarterbacks ever of all time, and I think so. I think with Russell, that is where he might can overtake this, and if he, what's the word I'm looking, if he progresses as he should. Now, with that
Right.
being said, do you think the coaches already know who they're starting for this upcoming year, or who's going to be QB1?
No, I think it's really up in the air because if so, I think that thought would have trickled down to the team, and one of them would have transferred. Man,
Right.
it was teams throwing money at Mac. At the end of the last year, like he doesn't have to be here.
Right.
Russ, he could have gone and been the man at another school. Guaranteed. Now here he's going to battle. So I think they wanted to be Russell. Um, but I think the race is neck and neck. I honestly do, and it's a high likelihood that whoever loses will be out of here, and so they better get it right.
Right. Now, you brought up the two Jalen Hurts deal here briefly, and I was going to ask about that. Is there already, you kind of hit on some of the similarities of what potentially could happen? Is there already similarities of that Hurts Tua thing? Because I don't know how Tua and Hurts battled before the season started. Is there any parallels there that you see that scare you or make you go, "Oh hell, this is going to be a great competition"? Because iron sharpens iron. I'm a big
Yeah,
believer in
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, just what I saw of Mac, like I said, to me, him and Ty Simpson, you could interchange the two.
Right,
As far as parallels, the only parallels is that they may consider one to be a safer option. The other one is a young, overconfident gunslinger. But other than that, the fans don't care. Even though, like, if you were a really honest fan, you knew that Jalen wasn't the best quarterback in the SEC NCAA. But I mean, he had gone to a championship game, had won some big games. So, it was hard as a fan to accept the fact that this wasn't going to be your guy, but you couldn't deny to it. So, I give Coach Saban a pass on that part. But as far as what we're facing, no, neither one of them have really done anything on the field. The fans just want the best of the two to come out. So, I don't know what the coaches are seeing, but this is a big decision. He's already on the hot seat with his performance, and if he messes this up, man, he will be out of there so fast.
so okay, so I got one question for you. So, how short of a leash does the starting quarterback have by the coach? And how short will that leash be with the fans if stuff goes south in the beginning of the year?
With the coach, I just honestly think that Russell's ceiling is much higher. You give him a longer leash. The fans, you know what they say, man. The most popular person on the team is the second string quarterback.
Right.
So you know how we're gonna do. Uh, but you give the guy with the higher ceiling a longer leash because you just don't know if he can create. A game manager is exactly that. You need pieces around you to operate. So with Matt, you're gonna need a great running back. You're gonna need Ryan Williams to finally start catching some balls. You're gonna need the offensive line. Everything has to work for that type of quarterback. Russell can buy you time in a pocket. He can scramble. He's more accurate. So that guy deserves the longer leash, in my opinion.
Right. There you go. So how do you see the season playing out, Ian, for Alabama? Well, what I think I think the perfect world for you would be Keelan Russell starting and finishing the year, and y'all go play for a natty. But what is the realistic thing happening with this quarterback? What do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, it's so hard to call, man. I think they're right there. And that's, me. I'm not a homer like that. But it's hard for me to be disappointed or have just come to grips with the fact that the wheels have fallen off an organization that has been building for almost 2 decades. So you mean to tell me we lose all that in 2 or 3 years? Yes, you can have some hiccups. And so I look at the other example, which was LSU. Okay. Saban built an organization. Even the moron Les Miles couldn't mess it up. He won a natty. It continued. They hired another moron. Okay. He won. They hired the biggest moron in history. And so or and so that was the organization that Saban built, and I expect that to continue with Alabama. If the board doesn't crack and he just stays the course, now everybody around him is good at getting better due to this the changes in the laws, and so he has to deal with that pressure. But outside of that, man, they're right there. They only looked really out of competition in one game, and I think they just quit. You know, um, and so we'll just see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but right now, you know, I put them at about a 9-3, aiming for 10-2. Um, it could go to the left, it could go to the right, but right now I just see a 9-3 type team.
Okay. All right. Well, that's better than the outlook Arkansas Razorbacks is going to have. So, no, bless my heart. I'm a Razorback fan, so we already lost before we got started. I'm afraid. I don't know. I'm actually going to have a guest on next week because you're not going to be here next week, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to be out doing your thing, right? Next week.
Right.
So I'm going to have a guest on that's next week that's going to put a little bit of Arkansas stuff in perspective for me. So I'm looking forward to that next week. I don't want you off this show next week, but since you're off, I got to bring in the big guns to cover for you, man. So
Okay.
I got a good guest coming in. But it's interesting how college sports always seems to combine chaos, controversy, and competition at the same time, man. And speaking of that, let's get to something that's happening right now that I love it. Let's talk about the SEC basketball tournament right now. It's taking place, man. And let me see if I can get this screen to share right here. If you can see this right here. LSU lost 87-82 earlier in game 1 to Kentucky. Auburn beat 12 seed, beat 13 seed Mississippi State 79-61. And we got Ole Miss and Texas going to be popping up here for the next game, for game 3, and then game 4, South Carolina and Oklahoma. Interesting, Arkansas and Alabama both got double byes, so they can possibly meet each other in the what would it be, in the semifinals there. And you know what? And I didn't get to see all of the game. I got to see bits and pieces of it, but man, what a game between Arkansas and Alabama. And you know what? And I had to give you credit because you called me up, you gave me props. She's like, man, you've been telling me about Darius Acuff
Hmm.
Jr. all
Yeah.
year. And with that being said, I got to give a shout out to my guy Darius Acuff Jr. Yesterday, he won. He was awarded the Freshman of the Year, SEC Player of the Year, SEC Freshman of the Year by coaches. And today, he was named AP SEC Player of the Year and Freshman
Oh,
of the Year.
wow.
So he did
Wow.
the clean sweep right there, man.
Wow.
And he did I believe it was 22.4, 22.6 points he averaged and 6.4 assists a game. And he led in both categories on that. But I tell you what, man, Alabama, I can always say, it's a home game. There was some officiating I didn't like. Four players fouled out at Arkansas, but you know what? That can't be the excuse every time. Alabama has been, you know what? It seems like they're peaking, but it also seems like now Arkansas lost a game about a week ago or a week and a half ago to Florida, and they got embarrassed because they just didn't show up. And I think that's the wake up call they had. And so the two teams right there, man, Arkansas and Alabama, I think you need to be careful of. I think when it comes in the big time March Madness, those are two teams you don't want to mess with.
Right,
Uh,
right,
what are you seeing about it? And especially after oh my God, I can never say the guy's name, but he was, Bediako. He was playing. He's not playing. He's playing. He's not playing. So you know what? That was I have to give Nate Oates and Alabama Crimson Tide. I have to give their team credit because that was a head case going up and down, up and down. And you know what? What didn't kill them only made them stronger. And so hats off to Alabama, man.
Yeah, man. I want to say that they're on about a 5 or 6 game win streak, and 2 of those games they were very fortunate to win. Arkansas and Tennessee. Um, hey, we'll take a win no matter how you get it. But I didn't walk away from either one of those games thinking a better team won, and that's just me being realistic. But I do, like some of the things that Alabama did. Primarily with Bediako losing. They just decided to play more of a 5-out small ball, and their identity changed, or they accepted what their identity was, and they gelled. And so I like it. I would not expect them to beat the Arkansas in the semifinal. However, I do like the fact that they just experienced a run. And that's what you got to do in March, man. And so we'll
Right.
see.
You're
The jury's still out, but honestly, I was in shock. Maybe I'm so pessimistic, but there's professional, commentators out there calling them the best offense in basketball. And so I haven't watched enough of that to confirm, but hey, man, you got some good shooters. You always got a chance.
Dude, you do, man. With Alabama, you're gonna yoke that three, bro. They're gonna yoke it on you when they get a chance. And then the other part of that, Arkansas, dude, I think they're like number 2 in the nation on fast break points. Like if they get the ball and they get a fast break, they're gone. You better have your ass back on defense, quick, fast, in a hurry. And just looking at the bracket, man, I'll be honest with you, Arkansas has an easy route. In my opinion, of course, don't knock on wood. I don't want to jinx them. They have an easy route to that game to get a rematch against Alabama, in my opinion. Tonight, number 14 and number 11, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Oklahoma are playing. Oklahoma should win that game. They're a good team, but they're just playing a little bit better teams. And then you got 11. Whoever the winner of that game will face Texas A&M, and Arkansas has beaten all 3 of those teams. And when it comes to Alabama, you got Ole Miss and Texas playing, and the winner of that game will play Georgia. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Georgia's a tough out.
They beat Bama.
Yeah, I do. Georgia beat the hell out of Arkansas. Like they caught Arkansas napping. So that's a tough out right there. But Georgia earned their respect, and I don't think Alabama's going to overlook them. And I for damn sure know that Arkansas ain't going to overlook them. But I think that matchup, Georgia-Alabama, is going to be tougher for y'all to get to the semifinal than it is for Arkansas on that side of the bracket. And with that, now Auburn's got a tough game coming up tomorrow. They got Tennessee. They're playing number 5 Tennessee, and that's That's basically a home game there for Tennessee and Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. You got
Right.
Kentucky and Missouri. Missouri's playing good. They played us really tough in the last game of the season, though Darius Acuff was out. He set out that game, but they got to go ahead and whoever goes to that part has to go play Florida. And I'm telling you right now, dude, Florida is just, dude, they're impressive. They're absolutely
they
impressive.
They are.
To me, I could see them as a number one seed. If they win this whole tournament, regular season and tournament champions, I could see them as an overall number one seed in the NCAA. And I got my guy Chris over here. What's your opinion on UGA basketball? How far can they go in March? You know what? The tournament is to me is a stepping stone. Arkansas last year, I believe they started 0-5 last year in the tournament. I'm sorry, 0-5 in conference play, and then we made our little run there late February, early March, and it started right here in the tournament. And look, if Georgia gets past Alabama, if Georgia gets past Arkansas, and they're in that, dude, that's just momentum going. And Georgia's one of those teams. I mean, when I tell you they beat the hell out of Arkansas, they beat They beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So they're a team that they're not going to roll over. And so I could see them, I could see them. I definitely see them winning their first game. I figure that, I haven't seen Joe Lunardi's, what his bracketology is with them. Let me see if I can see what he may have Georgia placed here. I'm looking. Georgia. I just can't find it, but I know he has Georgia in here somewhere. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say he probably has Georgia probably around an 8 seed or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because he has Arkansas sitting at a 5 seed, Alabama at a 3 seed. He's got Georgia at a 7 seed. So with that being said, 7 seed can make a run, man. I mean,
absolutely.
They can make a damn run, and they can make a Sweet 16. And yes, and it looks like he had him in the same region as UConn. But you know what? Hey, I don't care what team you are. If you make it to the Sweet 16, dude, that's been a successful year. Even if you're UConn, even if you're Florida, you're one of the top 16 teams. But there are some out there that, once you get that Sweet 16, then it's kind of, to me, it's a whole new season. And so,
right.
Georgia's one of those teams that's dangerous, man. Out of everybody there, the 2 teams I don't want to play are Florida or Georgia. If that's my pick.
Man, when you say Georgia, I know nothing about them, but I know everything about them. They're that annoying team, man. So they'll lose this next game, or they will win the tournament. It's feast or famine. And that's because it's like every time I pay any attention to them, they're winning, but then why aren't they mentioned above the best? So that means they're losing when I'm not. So I don't know, but they're scary, man. They're scary. And I've seen them, take it to some, really good teams that I thought was thorough. So, they could win it all, or they could lose their next game, man. I think that's the irritation with them. But you get them in a tournament, and it's those little punchy teams, man, that'll make a run. And I can see it coming.
Let me see if I can do something here. I want to remove, and I want to, because our guy Chris, he brought up his deal. So I want to share this for Chris, if I can get it up right here. There we go. Where did it go? Add to stage. There we go. Chris is right. So if you look right here, if you see my cursor on the screen, Georgia, Joe Lunardi has him as playing the 10 seed NC State in Philadelphia. So that's a little bit closer for NC State there, but they are in the bracket with UConn, number 2, UConn. But you know what? UConn is, from what I've seen, UConn is beatable this year. Like, UConn doesn't scare me like they have in the past. And I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say something here, because earlier this year I watched Oregon play Michigan, and I believe Michigan is like number 2 right now or whatever. And then I know they're a top 5 team, but Oregon had their 2 best players out, and they didn't run away with that game. And I watched Michigan and I watched Michigan State play, and it was a great game. Michigan pulled away late. But I'm almost under the impression that the Big Ten is going to surprise us in the NCAA tournament by being that conference that their teams are going to get knocked out early. I don't think they're as strong a conference as, say, like, I think the SEC stacked because Georgia can legitimately knock off a number one team if they're playing their game. They're that good. I mean, the teams in the SEC, there's every one of them are dangerous. And Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, they're elite. Those teams are elite. And so it would not surprise me to see the Big Ten, kind of get maybe humbled a little bit in the tournament, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And I think you're right about UConn. And I even saw something about them the other day. They're flirting, losing that number one seed. I think that if Florida does get that number one seed, that will be who they replace. But this year is just a very uncertain year. Even watching Duke, which is the closest team to me that has no flaws, they still look beatable, and so I just think that this is going to be a good tournament, man. And what a crazy year. Like, all of the best players are freshmen. This is like the greatest NCAA freshman class in history. And so, it'll just be fun to watch it play out, because the downside of that is you're dependent on these freshmen, to lead you to the promised land, and you just don't know how that's going to turn out, And so it'll just be fun to see how it unfolds. But, just get there. Don't have any injuries, and really recognize it for what it is. It's like, sort of like the SEC championship in football. Do you really want to go to that if you got a playoff spot on the line and run the risk? Like, really, what does a SEC title mean? I look at that in basketball as well. One more game, one more risk of injury, and you're already projected to be in a tournament, man. And so, I don't know. I just hope that they're all safe and they get there. And, I love the SEC men and women. I think this is, some of the toughest tournament play I've seen, in my lifetime. And I just hope they continue it.
Right. And I tell you, I'm looking at the bracket now, and I see where Joe Lunardi is projecting, and he is projecting Alabama to play in the – I just had it. Oh, my God. They're a number 3 seed. There they are, in the Greenville, North Carolina region. And dude, they got number 6 North Carolina, number 11 UCF, and number 11 Indiana. I think that's a play-in game maybe for that right there, if I'm not mistaken, the way that is. And then you got number 3 Alabama, number 14 Troy. Now, with that being said, Arkansas is going to be in the Tampa, according to him. Number 5, they got number 4 Virginia, and Virginia's a dangerous team, dude. Virginia snuck up on some people this year. No one was kind of expecting what happened with them, and next thing you know, oh hell, they're a 4 seed. So you got Arkansas and Virginia in the same bracket with number 12 Yale and number 13 Stephen F. Austin. And out here in the Portland region, I'm in the Hillsboro, Oregon. I'm 30 minutes away from Portland. BYU, Miami of Ohio, number 3 Gonzaga, and number 14 UC Irvine, and number 3 Gonzaga got beat by Portland State. So this year, what's a big win for them. So, dude, there's a lot of parity in college basketball this year, like you're saying. Yeah. And Chris, if Miss Josie there is a UConn fan, yeah, y'all gonna have an interesting weekend if Lunardi's picks come out there. So
I'm going to put my bracket in Chat GPT and just let it pick the winner. That's what it's supposed to do, right? Because outside of that, nobody's picking a perfect bracket this year, man.
I don't think so. And you brought up an interesting fact, man, that you said that this is just a heavy freshman class, dude. Like Arkansas has Darius Acuff Jr., and people are talking about him going 1 or 2. Like he has literally played his way into going into maybe he was in the first round, but maybe one of the first 2 picks. I've actually heard pundits say, why not him? But then we got a kid named Malik Thomas. The dude, all he does is just shoot threes, man. And I guarantee he's going to be one and done. And so, but with that being said, he is going to take care of. I say Calipari is going to take care of everything and handle his business. And I think we may have just lost Ian right there. So with that, there he goes. I was going to say.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, well, I got you, boss. I got you.
Okay.
No, what I was saying is I see that, I think Arkansas is going to have a high turnover this year. I'm pretty sure we're going to have at least 2 1-and-dones there. And then Billy Richmond, I don't see him staying, nor do I see Carter Knox. But Calipari just does what Calipari does, dude. He's bringing in one of the best guys. Dude, he is bringing in one of the he's bringing in a recruiting class this year that he says is better than what he has, the team that he has now. So, and you can't doubt the guy. All he does is win, man. That's all he does.
Yeah,
man.
To me, he's like a basketball version of Nick Saban, man. I mean, he's gonna win 98% of his games, but it's those couple that are you beating that LSU or that Georgia? It's always one or two teams that might beat him in the semis or the championship. But I would take him, any day, man. And it's good to see him have success everywhere he goes, man. Even way all the way back to the days of Marcus Camby and UMass. I've always been a Calipari fan, man. And so I love to see it. I really do.
Oh, God, man, you just told our age right there, because I remember watching those games on Saturdays, on weekends, man.
Right.
Before there was the SEC network, man, they only picked a few games. So man, I got a quick question for you with Alabama, and then we'll go on to the next segment right here real fast. But if Alabama makes a run here, if they get in this championship game, hell, I know what I would say with this question. But let's say they lose to Florida by a couple points, or let's say they beat Florida. How does that set them up for their run for the NCAA tournament, in your opinion? Is it going to, because they already had one stuff going on with what's his name there, the center, the guy that came back, and then so they've already faced some adversity.
I think there's just a limit, man. They play small ball. So 2 things that are going to beat them always: themselves being cold, and also a good inside game. And so the heavies have it. Duke has it. Arizona has it. We were talking about freshmen, but Kansas, I forgot their coach name, but their freshman carries so much weight there that he's checking himself in and out of games, man. Like it's like insane, and it's like the coach is sitting there, then he comes out on the press conference and says, well, I'm disappointed that why would you allow him to check himself? You're the coach, and so, it's just crazy. But at the end of the day, Alabama will always keep themselves in games, but there's always that potential to shoot themselves out of games, and they'll never beat a Duke with a Boozer, down there, in the post. Anybody with any halfway dominant big man will beat Bama, and that's just what it is, man. But I think that they can at least make a Sweet 16 run, but I just think, you have to have a big man down there that's capable, and they do not have it at all.
Right. Well, and no one can defend a Boozer because Arkansas played them in a neutral site game, and wow, if you're not going to call at least one foul on a Boozer, I mean, you got no shot at all, dude. I mean, no shot at all. Kid can ball, but he also can foul too. So, with that being said, we're going to swap over to our next segment right here. And when I first read about this, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I was like, man, I owe this man an apology. But then I kind of read up, and what other people don't know about me is the first time ever I went to school, the first time in my life, I was a police officer. And then when I got out of the military again, the first time I got out of the military, I was a police officer and made the rank of detective. So a lot of this legal stuff, I understand some of this. So when I'm talking about Sherrone Moore, and everybody's like, oh, this was this was that. No. This guy did exactly what he did. And let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because all they did was they offered him misdemeanors. And they did. And they wouldn't offer him a plea deal. And the reason why they offered him a plea deal is because at the end of the day, it's her word against his word, and the whole, butter knife thing, this, that, and the other. The district attorney still has to prove it, right? And they know it's going to be a damn circus from hell. And in my opinion, that's why they're like, you know what? Let's just offer him here. And you know what? Here's the thing. If I didn't do any of that stuff and my ass was innocent, I ain't taking a plea deal. I'd be like, nope, let's go to court. So,
Right.
and here's the other thing of that to Coach Moore. It's not over for him because what's about to happen is this Miss Shiver, I think is her last name, is how you pronounce her name, is fixing to sue his butt off in civil court. In civil
Right.
court,
Right.
the burden of guilt is on the he has to prove he's not guilty. It's not on her to prove. So it's easier for her to get that money, and she's gonna get that money. She's gonna get a little bit of it anyway. And
Right.
let's be
Right.
real, she's gonna sue him, but she's gonna go after Michigan. And let's just
Mm,
watch and see how quick Michigan, how quick they settle out. So when you
right.
heard about it, so now I guess now that I've told you my spill on it, what was your reaction when you heard about it?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, just here, that's why I wanted to discuss it. Of course, mine, it was more of, and I'll tell you, I got caught off guard with the Kyron Lacey story. Okay, so you had the LSU wide receiver, he was going to be top pick in the draft. He, according to the story, he, kills somebody, traffic, runs from the cops, and then, he gets arrested, and then eventually he commits suicide. Right. So he has this attorney come on and he gives this passionate, like, okay, well, he's using like data, like, it's impossible for this to happen. And he flipped the whole narrative. And so you had people on ESPN, saying, oh my God. But the cops, they held their ground, and they came out and they was like, no, this is what happened. And then you didn't hear anything more from the story. And so that's all that I like is just, awareness on either side. I think a lot of people were in a rush, to write this man off publicly. Um, but just hearing what you explained and definitely would lean to your expertise. But at the end of the day, um, he just got to be more careful, man. But at least
Right.
I don't know the depths of it. It's things that neither one of us will ever know. And so at least it looks like, he's just not being thrown to the wolves here, like I thought that he was early, whether he deserved it or not.
Well, I will tell you this: he lost his job. We know that he lost his job in
Right.
Michigan. I think after 2 seasons, went 16-8, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so the you know the situation. I will say this: that I'm happy for him for this. Um, as a coach, not at that level, but just as a coach and just as a human being, man, we all make mistakes. We all do dumb stuff in our life. My God, one day I'm gonna be before my maker, and he gonna be like, Sean, what was you thinking during this time? And I'll be like, well,
Yeah.
God, here's what happened. So, but no,
Right.
the thing is, I think this here has lessened the blow. I think he's going to get his butt ate up in civil court along
Hmm.
with Michigan,
Right.
but I think he has an avenue to come back to coaching, to
Right.
be at a high level. I mean, because let's look at it. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the coaches. Bobby Petrino comes to mind.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, Rick Pitino had some stuff
Yeah.
happen to him. I mean, so that's the one thing. The man is young enough and to learn from his mistakes. He's got a family.
Right.
He's got kids. Now with that being said, I don't know the story here. That's going to come out in civil court. The lady has a life and she has a family and she has stuff that the lights on the negative light's going to be on her also too. But I just hope that now that this can I think she's going to get paid. She's going to be all right, and he's going
Hmm.
to be all right eventually. And he's going to be
Right.
back in coaching. And I hope if he gets a second chance, my God, don't ruin it. Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Stay true to
Yeah.
yourself. Stay true to your beliefs. Stay humble. Stay hungry. And that's what I hope. That's my hope for this whole thing.
Well, you know me, man. I'm the ultimate conspiracy theorist, and I think he'll return to coach, and I'm not sure at a head coach level, and definitely not a head coach at a prestigious university like Michigan. But I just think that he was not supposed to be the man. He won a couple of big games, and they got him out of there. And so I just think this is a part of it. I don't think nobody in the world is that stupid. And so I'm trying, man. I'm trying to give him a little credit. Like it was a cover up. You got, just for me to believe that he's not a total idiot.
Well, and that's the thing, man. Yeah, hopefully he's. if this didn't wake him up, then nothing ever will. So, but you know what? I'm sending out good vibes to both of them. Hopefully, they can go on and have productive lives and careers, and change people's lives in a positive, good way. And so
Right.
that's where I'm at. I know that's corny. That's what it is, But you know what?
Well, you
Um,
did it. You did it. And so, you know,
yeah.
nothing
So
corny about expecting
uh,
that.
right. So
Right.
that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. And then you know what? We're about 45 minutes out. And Ian, I don't know if you were paying attention with our college sports crew, our group chat, but somebody brought up LSU,
Hmm.
and they brought up hiring Will Wade. First off, Coach Matt McMahon is still there, right? Now they lost. They just got their butts booted out of the tournament on the first day. I don't know how long he's going to be there after this, but it got me to thinking, right? And I because I remember LSU basketball. Now, granted, I didn't watch Pistol Pete Maravich play, but I did see the movie, the show, the Pistol, and everything. And dude, it's when you talk about their basketball. To me, it's one of the most fascinating. When I got to actually looking it over, it turned it to be fascinating to me because the history is incredible. But you know what? They play at what they call the PMAT, right? Pete Maravich Center there, Assembly, and they that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was opened in 1972, man. So it's like 50
Right.
years old, right? But dude, and this blew me away too. I knew the guy was good. I didn't realize he was this damn good. Pistol Pete Maravich, man, he averaged 44.2 points a
Mm.
game in the SEC.
Wow.
Bro, this was before they had a 3-point
3 point
line,
line.
a
Right.
shot
Right.
clock, right? No shot clock. And so, defenses, they could slow play him all day if they wanted to. And it was insane. Like, and then like their second highest average there, I think in the SEC was Chris Jackson. I know he changed his name when he became professional
Hmm.
to a Muslim name,
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
so yes, something like,
Right.
it was
Right.
yes.
Hmm.
He averaged 30 points, but
Hmm.
he did it in like he didn't play half the games that he did. He had a 3-point line. He had that, and to put that in perspective, like what the guy averaged, uh, Darius Acuff just swept everything. He had a 22.2 points per game average and a 6.4 assist. You know, I mean, it's crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, Maravich averaged over 40 points in the NBA also
Mm.
per game. So LSU, they have something to build off of, man. And it got me to thinking, and look, you've seen dynasties like, I dare say that, Alabama had a dynasty going there when Saban was there. Easily can say that. And, Nate Oat has got things going, cooking there for basketball. Your softball team is legit. You probably got one of the best players in baseball. I think your shortstop there at playing baseball for the Crimson Tide. You guys are stacked. So if what would it take? And I've got some ideas, but if LSU wants to hire an elite coach, they want some elite players. They just need to go all in, like they've gone all in. I mean, hell,
Right.
they've thrown money at everything else. I mean, Lane Kiffin, they're paying Brian Kelly, to leave. Kim Mulkey, she took that job, but she took that job saying, "This is what I want. This is what my
Right.
facilities are." So yeah, like they're out. Like their facility is over 50 years old. And
Right.
they don't have things like the premium seating, the recruiting lounges, luxury donor areas, like things that Arkansas and Tennessee have. Like they actually have a basketball like it's like their own practice facility that they have
Right.
their own everything from diet to exercise to everything there. Um, and so I guess my question is, do you see LSU doing that? I mean, LSU, let's be real, dude. They're not scared in baseball. They're
Hmm.
not, they're I believe they're going to be a top team within a couple of years in football. if not this upcoming year, because Lane Kiffin can coach. Kim
Right,
Mulkey's doing her thing. You
right,
know,
right.
I mean, I can see them taking the four things there and turning if they do
Yeah,
basketball. Now, if they do get basketball donors and all that stuff, do you think LSU could turn the corner and make something
absolutely,
elite?
absolutely. This is what I feel about LSU. You know, they're new money, right? So there's very few programs that lead with basketball fame than football. Okay, so let's name them: Duke, North Carolina, Arizona. Okay, so nobody cared about LSU basketball. They were not going to have a great coach because their football team sucked, and this is pre-Saban, right? So as he comes and
Hmm.
they build a brand, and so that transition. Same thing at Alabama. Football leads the way. It builds interest. It brings the money, and so that's where LSU is now. And so it's a very attractive job. They have big money down there, access to some great athletes. And so, they're close. And the thing about Will Wade, you know, it's not a rumor, man. It's like Bama has a guy named Jeremy Pruitt, and Jeremy Pruitt was the best defensive mind under Saban, other than Kirby. Maybe him and Kirby was 1A, 1B. But Pruitt was a Bama guy. Kirby was a Georgia guy. Pruitt was a Bama guy. And Tennessee, they totally sabotaged him. And just seeing all this money go back and forth, he has his show calls. I think it just got cleared. But he would have been, Saban, he would have kept Saban around if he had been a coordinator. But man, the fans that know football, they know that he's a great fit, but he's not going to be hired, man. And there are a few examples, like you said, Bobby Petrino, but they can't hire him back.
No, I agree
That's a
with you.
PR nightmare. I don't care how you and LSU isn't built for that. They're not built for that. There's certain teams that they have a history or whatever, and they can be public enemy like Bama. Okay, they got a name, even though it was in football, it was in basketball. So Nate Oates did the stupid decision of bringing a guy that he knew was not, like you had to know that was going to backfire, but he did it anyway. And what can anybody do? Here we are, talking about them as a number 2, number 3 seed. I don't know if LSU is that in basketball, and so I don't think that they can survive a Will Wade. They need a coach, and I think that they can pull a coach, and they're pulling a coach all around outside of that one area, and he's next up. But I think that hiring Will Wade would be a big mistake, honestly.
Yeah. Well, first off, if I'm a coach and they come to me, let's say I'm one of the elite coaches, and LSU, and here's the thing, man, they can throw all the money in the world at me and say, we're going to pay you big bucks, whatever, whatever. I'm gonna be just like Kim Mulkey. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
like, first off, you gotta modernize my the place I play. We're gonna do that. I want a state of the arts basketball operations center, just like uh, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida. That's where they separate from everybody. Dude, when I tell you Arkansas is a state of the art basketball operations center, oh my
Right.
God, bro, it's amazing. And strengthen their NIL and their recruiting infrastructure. You know what? And LSU, I mean, and this is the part that scares me because if they do this, if they treat the men's basketball as a true priority within that athletic department, you know, Alabama, I mean, they dumb. They'll just throw all the
Yeah.
money they got from all down the bayou, up around the bayou, from up north, down
Yeah.
south. They'll
You
throw
gotta
all that
realize,
money.
man, like it's a lot of, old conservative. Like, for example, Don Staley should have been a coach of Alabama. They didn't hire her because they knew her, her lifestyle and her ethnicity, and the old school money. And so South Carolina come in, sweeps her up, and everything takes off from there. So you still face that, man. And it's not to point any fingers, but down here there's a lot of entrenched beliefs, man, and they're not willing to just accept X's and O's, man. They want,
Yeah.
someone that fits under their thumb, and everyone doesn't play that game. And a lot of times when it's coaches that get in this trouble, they're not playing a game because I know there's a lot of sleazy coaches out there, and it just gets swept up under the rug because you can't afford. But usually when these coaches have a major controversy, I think you know It's more than stupid decisions. It's, people trying to get them out of there, and that's what they do.
Right, right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let's say if if LSU, if they invested in basketball tomorrow, the way they invest in football, baseball, Coach Moak, the lady Tiger basketball program, realistically, how long could it take for them to be SEC contenders in your opinion?
Um, Not long at all, man. I mean, like for example, okay, you take for instance Georgia, okay, and we're talking about how good they are. I don't hear them mentioned among any of the national pundits, but they're still headed for a 7 seed. Okay, so that just goes to show you that all of these teams are just a couple of pieces away. They're all right there. You got Vandy playing good ball, Tennessee. I put Florida at 1A, but 1B, you got about 5 teams, man. And so LSU could be right there, and so they got the talent down there. All they need is the strong coach. And it's just like with Saban. Saban actively recruits every coach we have, including basketball coaches. He signed off on NATO's,
Right,
and so now you got Lane Kiffin down there, and he's like a younger, fresher Saban, and but he's a people person who wouldn't want to, you know, come be on the other side with him, and that matters, and he'll be out there,
right,
giving his opinion as to who they should bring in. So I think the future's bright for LSU overall, man.
right. Well, I was going to ask you, do you think the LSU job, if it comes open from Coach McMahon, um, is an elite coaching job? And I will tell you, my answer is I don't think it's an elite coaching job, but it's not. And what makes it elite, in my opinion, is it is that all of the stuff that they have put um, into everything else, to football, baseball, women's basketball program. If they tell an elite coach, "Hey, this is what we're going to do," and they see what they've done with Kiffin and do this, like you said, LSU's got the money. I believe it can be an elite spot, and they can
Yeah,
get an
yeah.
elite coach. I don't think Will Wade's an elite coach. I know people liked him. He's had some good moments, but I'm like you. I don't think he is. I think they could do better out there if they decide to go with that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Would do you think? Well, I guess my question is, if they made all those promises, can you tell me why an elite coach would not take that job if they promise to do all that?
Yeah, I think that they can get them, man. I mean, we don't we're not in the era of blue bloods anymore. You still got Duke winning, but they don't feel like that 92, 93.
Yeah,
Grant Hill, like they're going to win, or that UNLV running Rebels, or that Michigan, that, Fab Five. There's no teams like I could look back and I would have struggled maybe the last 10 years, even remembering who played in the championship games, who was the best player. And so I just think that now, more than ever, especially in basketball, because for a long time, it wasn't even a blue blood coach. It was that up and comer from a mid major, that had been there. That was the guy. So I think that LSU can get whoever they want. No, they're probably not going to get an entrenched guy, but, anybody below that, any hot, even Nate Oates, somebody on his level, some up and comer from a mid major or something like that. They can pull, man. It's an
right.
attractive job, and I think they can get whoever they want.
Well, I tell you what's so weird. You just made me realize you just went through all the teams. Grant, you know what and what was going through my head is, yeah, that there's not a Mike Krzyzewski team out there from
Mm-mm,
Duke. You
no,
know, there's not a, the what was his name, Coach Dean, God, what the coach
Dean
from North
Smith.
Carolina, Dean Smith, yeah,
Uh-huh.
uh,
Yep.
Roy, what was his name, the other
Roy Williams.
Roy,
Yep.
yeah, all
Hmm.
these coaches that, dude, you identify the team by the coaches instead of now
Right.
you're identifying them by players and NIL packages. But LSU, don't don't take our word for it, um, um, because Arkansas made a hire a couple of years back that surprised and shocked the nation when we pulled Calipari away from Kentucky. So, with that being said, good luck to y'all. I think I kind of hope they do, and I think, in my opinion, I think LSU will, because they're on a roll. To me, they're on a roll. They're like, let's get this while they're good. And look, winning teams are going to win you money. They're going to get you money, and money is the name of the game now. And so they're right. So, and with that being said, man, I got Jamal over here on Athletes Forum Podcast. So hit that like button if you're watching. And guys, hey, look, Jamal. Yeah, babe, Jamal, what's up, boss? This is my first time back in, I think, 3 weeks. It was kind of hard getting back in the saddle. And look, man, if you guys are out there watching this, hit that like button right here on YouTube here. And at X, we should be on X, but we're having a problem with the stream. It didn't stream on X, which I did get a notification before we went live saying that could happen. But if you're on X, catch us at College Crew on X, and hit that subscribe button, man. And look, with that, Mr. Ian, before I go in, you got anything you want to end? Oh, wait. Yes, you do. We do have something. Yes. Mr. Ian wants to talk about something that, it's a health-related deal. And you know what? I'm going to sit back and enjoy.
Right. So my birthday's next week, March 17th. I'm a St. Patrick's Day baby. And every year around my birthday, I try to do something very intentional. I remember when I turned 45, I got out there and ran 4.5 miles. And so this year, I had the thought, let me do a water fast. And it has been the most wonderful experience. And I chose it because I knew that I would finish. There's no way that I'm going to disappoint myself and not finish this. And so there's a lot of benefits to it, man. Obviously, weight loss, I'm down, maybe 6-7 pounds in 3 days. But, if you go long enough, there's people out there that believe that, it's a miracle cure. It literally kills cancer cells because, the insulin is the enemy, man. The carbs are sugar, but, that glucose, all that spiking. And so if you can prevent that and you take your body into a state of deep ketosis, then you force the body to burn and eat all the bad stuff in there, man. And so that's what it is in a nutshell. And so I'm on day 3. Hey, man, I'm feeling great. I might even make it to day 4. But I, urge everyone, take your health seriously. We're losing people, like Sean mentioned, and but you don't have to rely on traditional medicine, because that's where the money is. Just like textbooks is where the money is. And so, do your research, find whatever works for you. I'm not saying go to a witch doctor or, any type of thing like that, but, the body is wonderfully made. Okay. And we have a lot of things that you just have to unlock, and figure it out. And the body will do a lot of great things. And this is one of them. So, water fast in day 3. I got about 4 more hours to go, and I think I'm going to hit the finish line, man.
Well, there we go, guys. There we go. And hey, and he's not kidding, guys. And we're going to be getting off here real quick because our guy Jamal is going to be coming up doing his show here, I believe, at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. And he's going to put on a hell of a show. But he's not kidding, guys. My dad was a pharmacist for 42 years. 42 years. At 72, he went back and became a homeopath doctor, and he absolutely despised Big Pharma after he learned what it was all about. So, but with that being said, guys, this is the Veteran Sports Voice Podcast, college sports spoken by those who served. And you know what, guys, if you hadn't been watching the news, you know what, go turn it on, pay attention. It's kind of depressing, but you know what? Hey, we got men and women just this week alone who were doing their job overseas and got escorted home on an Angel flight because they lost their life in the service of their country. Put it bluntly, shit's hit the fan a little bit, and the guys and guys and girls and that have joined the military and signed up to do their job, well, they're doing real world stuff right now. And so, you know what? I don't give a damn about your politics. I'll just support our men and women in uniform, because their service is the reason why you have an opinion of politics and whatnot, whatever. And with that being said, if we got any veterans out there watching us, man, hey, we love you guys. Love you girls. You keep your head down, do what you got to do. Stay safe. Come home. We love you guys. If you're a Gold Star member, we love and respect, and we honor your sacrifice. And we're here. And hey, if you're a veteran sitting at home and you don't know you need us, hey, reach out to us. We got you. And we're here. And we can point you in the right direction. So with that being said, guys, like I said, this is a Veteran Sports Voice podcast. Sports spoken by those who served. We love you guys, and we will see you guys next week.